This is Kathy from GadgetStop321, and in today's video I'm going to take a look at Lamy Amazonite, and I'm going to test it in a variety of nibs ranging from a Pilot Extra Fine to a 1.5 stub. I'm going to start with the Pilot Extra Fine. This is a Pilot 78G Plus with a steel extra fine nib. This ink isn't as saturated as the last couple inks I've tested, and I would say it's not unpleasant, but I wouldn't call it nice. I'm just going to say that it's not scratchy. I wouldn't pick this combination to use for everyday writing, but if I had to use it, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Next, I've got a Sailor Pro Gear Slim with a fine nib. Now, this nib has struggled with the last couple ink samples that I've tested, but we're off to a good start this time. Yeah, I think I like this. And this color, I'm going to put nice on this. This color also looks nice with this white pen. Okay, next I have a Platinum 3776 with a medium nib. This is putting down quite a bit more ink. I would say that it's nice. This platinum nib is not smooth, but it's not scratchy. It has just the slightest bit of feedback just to give you a little control as you write. I like it. I like that platinum medium nib. And next I have a Kaweco Perceo with a medium nib. This has about the same amount of feedback as the 3776, but I really like how the ink looks. Excuse me, coming out of this nib. Nice shading. That's a nice combination. Okay, next I have the Pilot Metropolitan with a cursive medium nib. Now this is smooth, and it seems like it's gonna have some nice shading like the Perceo. We'll see when it dries. Alright. Next, I've got a Nemesign Singularity with a 0.6 stub nib. This is typically pretty smooth. And it is. This ink has a tendency to sheen, and I'm curious to see what it looks like in that Nemesign nib when it dries. And finally, I have a Jinhao X750 with a 1.5 stub nib. Alright, that's looking nice too. Alright, while that dries, let's take a look at some of the other papers. Alright, I've got my little ARC notebook, and the extra fine felt kind of scratchy, but that Sailor Pro Gear Slim felt nice. It's been kind of, the ink flow in the last couple inks was not great, but this is nice. I see some shading, and the color of this ink just kind of reminds me of swimming pool water. Now, with turquoises and teals, you get some real color distortion. This is looking a lot more blue than it actually is. There's a little bit more green to it, but you really need to check someplace else to see the actual color. But you can see the type of shading you get in this Sailor Pro Gear Slim. I also really liked the Kaweco Perkeo, nice shading, and the Pilot Metropolitan looks like it might be a little bit wetter, but I think, well, on this paper I'm not seeing as much shading. The Perkeo I think is the best. It starts to feather a little bit when you get to the wetter nibs. Let's see. Doesn't bleed through too bad, honestly. Really, the 1.5 is the main one that bled through. Just one little dot here on the cursive medium. That's not bad. And on the Rhodia paper, the extra fine was a little bit scratchy. I really liked how it looked, and I liked writing with it in the Sailor Pro Gear. I also really liked, again, the Perkeo, the shading that you get, and the Metropolitan had some nice subtle shading, and it was just so smooth. I enjoyed writing with it. The Nemesign is nice and smooth, but it's just wet enough that you don't really see much shading. You see a little bit of shading there in the 1.5 stub. I'm not seeing any sheen on the Rhodia paper. On 20-pound copy paper, the extra fine wasn't scratchy, but for this ink, it turns out the extra fine is just not a good option. On this more absorbent paper, the Sailor Pro Gear Slim, the flow was just not great. So it felt like the ink was flowing just a little too slow. It was a little too dry. The Perkeo was okay. The Metropolitan wrote nice and smoothly, but I'm seeing some feathering. So this is not the best ink for copy paper. Let's see. The Leuchtturm had some nice shading, and you're starting to see just a hint of red sheen in the haloing those darker areas. That's nice, and it looks quite similar. Well, it's somewhat similar to Krishna Lyrebird Green, but it's got more shading. Lyrebird Green's pretty flat. Alright. And on Tomoe River, I'm seeing just a little bit. My lighting's not the best. Yeah, but I think you can see it. In the darker areas, there's a nice, just a slight halo of red sheen. So, on your medium and some of your finer nibs, this is I just like the color of this. This is a nice summery color. Nice color for summer. Alright, if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.